I guess just first thoughts on Cam Walker. Just hiring him, what stood out from him as opposed to other finalists that you interviewed?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we had an incredibly competitive finalist pool, so we were in the very, very fortunate position to have just a lot of excellent candidates interested in USU. So there was a lot of hype around this role. And Cam stood out to us in a lot of ways, and I'm sure you saw that in the press conference. He's a guy of great competitiveness alongside great integrity, so we know he's going to come in, run everything the right way, so all of our systems will be best in class, all aspects of the athletic department will be best in class, and we expect that will translate, of course, into competitive outcomes in the field.
Can you just talk a little bit about the decision to hire an athletic director rather than wait, and the timing of all that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there are, of course, two schools of thought on it, right? So one of the schools of thought is you should wait, for a new president to come in because of the relationship between the president and athletic director. The other side of it was, we have a significant transition going on right now as it relates to the Pac-12, and there's a lot of work being done right now. And some uncertainty about when a new president would be in place. Moreover, that president may or may not have comfort or familiarity with athletics. That could result in extending the time frame before they pursued a hiring process. And then finally, by engaging in the search now, if we didn't like the pool, if we were concerned that the pool was in some way compromised by virtue of our coming presidential transition, we could just call it and then let it happen again later. So we considering all of that, two bites at the apple is better than one. We thought, why not move ahead, especially given the urgency of our transition. And as I mentioned before, we had an incredible pool of interested candidates nationally, and it was evident to us that at that level of talent, they're not going to have trouble with any new president that comes in. Right?
Could you talk about how many were there? How many applicants and how many finalists did you get it down to?
Yeah, I won't talk about the total number or the number or finalists, but it was substantial, and I'd say compared to our previous search, even more interest. I think the move into the Pac-12 has been a great decision on the part of USU, and that's really increased attention to USU nationally.
Seems like there was a very palpable kind of undertone of focusing on the new era of college athletics, legally, NIL, revenue sharing, just kind of all those changes. How much of that was a top priority versus just other priorities?
Yeah, it was clearly a high priority, and I'll just say there were a lot of priorities. We wanted to check all the boxes, right? But obviously that's a critical box because the evolution of college athletics right now is at such a rapid pace that you really need somebody who's at the forefront and on top of all of these changes. And as you heard in the press conference today, Cam is absolutely on top of all of these contemporary issues in college athletics. And with his legal background, that doesn't hurt because, of course, a lot of what's going on right now in that space is in the legal arena. So,
what were some kind of those other top priorities that you were really looking to fill? They mentioned kind of beforehand outlining that.
Oh, yeah. Well, our ad hoc committee absolutely wanted a person who had a strong skill set across the board as it relates to running an athletics department, so that breadth but also depth of capability and competence. And then another was a capacity to really connect well with our community. And as you heard in there, we really need to get all of Cache Valley behind this athletic department and this institution so that we can reach our full potential, and we believe that he's somebody very well suited to do that for us.
So with the Pac-12 on the horizon and Cam Walker coming in, I'm sure that he'll have new priorities and procedures for the athletics department, along with eventually this new president coming in as well. Just how is the school administration sort of looking to align its priorities with the priorities of this newly formed athletics department?
The conference or the department?
I'm just asking, like, how do the priorities of the school administration and presidency there align with the priorities
Of USU athletics?
Of the athletics.
Okay, I got it. I just wanted to be clear.
Sure.
So the title you'll notice is Vice President and Director of Athletics, right? And so that means that our athletics director is always a part of our central administrative team. They're not firewalled entities, right? So we work together as a collective leadership cabinet on the various directions that we need to move as an institution. And so for some time, our central administration has been very bullish on the value of athletics to enriching the student experience here, enriching our community engagement, and so we're very, very much in sync with our athletic department, because the athletic department is very much just a part of our overall mission and initiatives.
Yeah, and then in this next year, as we're making this transition, what are some important milestones that we'll have to see with this new president and the new athletics program just within the next year or so?
Yeah, sure. I mean, obviously, when we enter into the Pac-12, we want to see competitive success out of the gate. So there's an expectation for that. We're going to want to see increase in revenues. That's going to be a critical part of finding success in the future in college athletics. And so we're going to want to be looking at our attendance at all of our events and creative ways that we can generate revenue. How can we create a better experience for those in the community who come to our events? How can we make a better experience for our student athletes so they're more inclined to hang around rather than jump into the portal or whatever it might be? Right?
President, this has been a season of turmoil for Utah State University with things internally, academics, with athletics as well, but also externally. I mean, he's going to have to play an important role in helping move things forward in that. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yeah, that's a great point. And one of the things we really like about Cam, you notice he's got a pretty steady, mature demeanor. He's somebody who's going to be thoughtful in approach and strategic in approach. And I think a lot of what we've been trying to do as a university, particularly over this recent half year or more, where it's been especially challenging for higher ed, is to keep our eyes on the long horizon, make wise strategic decisions that are all in the interest of where we might be 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And so that's the way you kind of have the fray kind of off to the sides and you keep moving forward. So we're trying not to get too mired in any of the various challenges that are out there right now for higher ed. We're just trying to make sure we're looking at that long horizon and always getting to a better place as a university.
I want to ask about an issue that pertains to football specifically, but it has a lot to do with academics as well, where there's the move to the single transfer portal in January. Bronco Mendenhall has expressed concern about the clash with the start of the semester, and where that's likely going to happen whether Utah State objects or not. What kind of challenges do you face as far as getting athletes in, from the portal, getting them involved in spring camp? Is that going to be viable?
I think it will be viable. It'll probably require, as an institution, we figure out a bit how we're going to accommodate. We're going to have to work with our faculty and staff communities on campus to make sure that we don't have extra friction related to that. But that absolutely is going to be a challenge, the move of that date. We're going to have students coming in when the semester is already underway, and that's never easy for a student. So we have to work hard as an institution to, again, make it as frictionless as possible and enable students to come here and thrive. So, good question. Yeah.
You kind of mentioned how closely the president and athletic director work together. How involved will Cameron now be moving forward in the search and hiring of a new president?
Well, the search and hiring of a new president is already underway. There's already a committee in place. And those processes, for a variety of reasons, need to be reasonably contained and confidential. And so there won't be a lot of engagement from those of us who aren't on the committee. There's representation, of course, of different constituents tied to campus and our state system and our trustees that are on that. And naturally, they're going to want to hire somebody in the president role who has good alignment with our institutional mission, our goals for the future, and part of that is always athletics. That's always an important part of a presidential search that comes up in those interviews and in the process.
What's the timeline? Where are we at right now in this process, and where we still need to go?
Because I'm not involved in the search, I don't know the exact timing, but I'm told that sometime this fall we might have a president named, and so maybe by end of October. But that's always contingent upon a variety of things, from how interviews go with candidates to can you coordinate everybody on a committee to all of the logistics that often we can't control. But I would envision certainly this fall having someone named, and then we can begin the transition work.
Well, that's another thing with Cam Walker, because he has experience with a couple athletic departments moving to new conferences. Did that stick out to you among other things that he has as far as experience?
It stuck out to us not so much because we have a transition in our presidential role coming, but because it suggests or signals a breadth of experience and seeing how to create change in different contexts. And what's really important for anybody, especially if we're hiring them from outside of USU, is that they can come in and get a pretty quick read of the context, and then understand what are the levers that we need to pull to meaningfully move us forward in whatever area we need to move forward with athletics.
In terms,
sorry, I have a fly.
Yeah.
It's like I'm trying to stay focused on you. I'm like,
just in terms of the Utah ties that Cam Walker had, we heard a lot even before the announcement was made about that potentially being a priority within the search. Just how much of knowing Cache Valley, being local here in Utah, was an important factor for you guys.
Well, it certainly was an important factor to our community members, and our ad hoc committee that made recommendations brought that up. But of course, when we're hiring someone, first and foremost, the competencies associated with the job are the most critical. And one of those competencies is capacity to develop relationships and connect with others, right? And one doesn't have to be from Cache Valley to be successful at that. Doesn't hurt when someone happens to have those ties, though. And again, we were fortunate in that respect, but that wouldn't have trumped the know-how that's required to succeed in this arena. These are highly technical jobs, and you need to first and foremost focus on the competencies associated with the job. But it was sure a nice bonus, right? Yeah.
Just wondering what this has been like for you personally. You've had a lot on your plate, obviously, since you stepped into this role.
Yep.
You've probably learned a lot about athletics and the inner workings of how that goes in this last few months.
Yeah, I have some background with athletics. My academic background is kinesiology. I've done some work in athletic departments, and so there was some base level of familiarity. But where I've really learned a lot is in the process where we're transitioning from Mountain West to the Pac-12, because I dropped in right when there was an awful lot of work being done on long-form legal agreements and other things related to that transition. And so I've learned quite a bit, I'd say more on the legal side and on the technical side as with respect to where we're heading moving forward. And so that's been interesting to me, fascinating, also made it very clear to me that we had to have somebody come in who's on top of that. Because that's the only way you're going to be competitive moving forward. Is to, as he said, he didn't use the Gretzky expression, but basically he said you got to skate to where the puck's going to be, and so that's what we got to do.
Following up with that, just your involvement too with some of the legal wranglings with Utah State and the Mountain West, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. I don't know how much you can actually specifically dive into.
Yeah, I won't dive into any of that.
But your involvement in that, where there was some transition with Cantwell leaving,
sure,
and you had to step in.
Yep.
Was that you that stepped into that role, or have there been others?
Yes, and so presidents are a group that are involved. The general counsels are a group that are involved. The athletic directors are a group that have been involved. And so, of course, in our case, we've had transition as it relates to athletic director, as it relates to president. And so I've been involved since I began my role. Betsy still remains involved because she's in Pac-12, right? So she's at Washington State, so I see her at meetings. We have our athletic director switch, so Sandy's been stepping in on the AD side for us, and she, as you know, brings a wealth of experience. And so that's been very beneficial and impactful for the Pac-12 rebuild, as well as for us. It's nice to have a leader in the room representing your university, and we know with Cam walking in, we're going to get the same thing. So,
just elaborating a little bit more on Sandy, just what were some of her particular roles in just, there's a lot of positive momentum as Diana was stepping out. So
Yep.
just how was Sandy sort of able to keep that momentum moving forward?
Well, Sandy's someone with extensive experience. She's also been at an array of institutions, right? And she's held the biggest roles. And so when she came in, she was able to diagnose and recognize right away all of the great things that Diana was trying to do, the things that we're still working on. And she, of course, has an easy rapport with our staff and coaches. And I think you put all of that together, and it enabled us to just keep racing ahead. And in many ways, they've been moving ahead, not just kind of sitting on their hands waiting for a new AD. So that's a wonderful position for us to be in as an institution. It's also a wonderful position for Cam to be in as he walks in as the new AD, because he has somebody who can give him kind of the forensic analysis, right? And then he can get off running.